All right. You guys wanted a deep dive on Rocky. And I gotta say, smart choice. This isn't just some boxing movie yawn. We've got an awesome long form critique to work with here. And I think you'll be pretty surprised at how much there is to this movie.
It's interesting. This source really hits hard on how Rocky is about way more than just boxing. It's about those tough times in life, the search for self-worth, those moments that really make us who we are, like a classic underdog story, but with a bit of a twist.
Yeah. The source really goes into how Rocky focuses on the life of a boxer, not just the fights themselves. Does that even go against the whole underdog thing, like making the opponent more human? Doesn't that kind of blur the lines between who we're supposed to be rooting for?
That's a good point. It does sort of mess with that whole good guy versus bad guy thing. Like, take that first scene, for example. We don't just jump right into some big championship. We're in this, like, grimy rundown gym. The crowd is rowdy. The fight is brutal. And you just get this feeling right away that it's about survival, not just the glory.
And then there's that part that the source points out, where Rocky and his opponent, Spider Rico, they share a cigarette and a beer. After beating the crap out of each other, doesn't really seem like they hate each other, does it?
Yeah. It kind of shows this, like, uh, camaraderie. Like, they both understand just how hard things are. They aren't really enemies, They're just two guys trying to make a living.
It makes you think about Rocky himself. The source goes really deep into his character, and he's not your average hero. He's got flaws, works for a loan shark, but there's just something about him that makes you want him to succeed.
Yeah, he's got this moral compass. He collects debts for a loan shark. But there's this scene where he refuses to break debtors' fingers. It's a powerful moment. It shows how he's torn between doing what he has to get by
Mm.
and sticking to his own code.
You know, that scene always gets to me. It reminds me that even when life's got you backed into a corner, you still have a choice to stick to your values.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Rocky says this one line that I think really captures who he is. He says, "If I can't be smart, I can be strong."
Mm,
Simple statement, right?
yeah.
But it says so much about him. Like, he knows he's not the smartest guy,
Yeah.
but he's going to find his own way to be strong.
And the way Stallone plays him, there's this vulnerability there, this quiet strength.
Yeah.
Makes him incredibly relatable. I mean,
Yeah.
who hasn't felt underestimated at some point?
Exactly. That's why people connect with him so much. He's not some Superman. He's just a regular guy trying to make something of himself.
We can't talk about Rocky without talking about Adrian Wright. I know the shy love interest can be kind of cliche, but I feel like Adrian is so much more than that.
Oh, she totally is.
Mhm.
The source makes a good point about how she has her own powerful story. It kind of mirrors Rocky's journey in a lot of
Right.
ways. She starts off super withdrawn, almost trapped,
Mm.
with her overprotective brother, Paulie, who's honestly kind of abusive.
I'm thinking of that ice skating scene. You've got this visual contrast between Rocky, who's so open, so full of life, and Adrian, who's practically hiding.
That scene is done so well. It shows how they're both feeling, but it also hints at how their relationship is going to go. It's through Rocky's kindness and him not giving up that Adrian starts to open up.
And by the end, she stands up to Polly, finds her own voice. It's amazing how much she grows along with Rocky.
It really shows her inner strength and how important mutual respect and support are in a relationship. Speaking of relationships, let's switch gears for a sec and talk about those supporting characters.
Yeah, the source even talks about Polly and Mickey, who, I gotta say, pretty complex characters themselves.
They add so much. They represent these different sides of Rocky's world.
Mm.
Paulie's like this bitterness, wasted potential, that toxic masculinity that can be so damaging. He's cruel to Adrian, but you can also see that he loves his sister, even if he doesn't always show it in the right way.
And then there's Mickey, the old trainer who kind of dismisses Rocky at first, sees him as just another washed-up nobody, but then something changes right.
Oh yeah, there's this beautiful transformation. He goes from not believing in Rocky to seeing his potential, his raw talent, his determination. And that scene where Mickey asks to be Rocky's manager and Rocky chases after him to say yes. Pure emotion.
Yeah, and it's like a reminder that second chances are possible, that it's never too late to believe in someone, or even in yourself.
Right. These supporting characters aren't just there for show. They really shape Rocky's journey. They add layers to the story.
Now, what about Apollo Creed? He's set up as the bad guy, but the source says he's not really a villain.
He's definitely not your typical bad guy. He's ambitious, driven, and let's be honest, he loves the attention.
Yeah.
Choosing to fight Rocky was a calculated move, a publicity stunt.
Which actually shows he's smart. He understands that boxing is a business. But what I find interesting is that by the end, they clearly respect each other.
Oh, yeah.
Totally goes beyond just the competition.
Absolutely. It becomes something more like they recognize each other's strengths.
Yeah.
and that they both love the sport. And that brings us to the heart of Rocky's legacy, that iconic training montage.
Man, I gotta say, I get chills every time I see that montage. It's like,
Yeah.
it's become this symbol of never giving up, pushing yourself to the limit.
And what's cool is how the source breaks down the visuals. It's not just a bunch of cool shots with music. It really tells a story. You see Rocky struggling at first. Running through those dark streets, you can hear how hard he's breathing, like his steps are uncertain.
But then as it goes on, things start to change.
Exactly. The sun starts to come up. And Rocky's movements get smoother, more confident. It's like he's starting to believe in himself more and more.
And that music, gonna fly now. It's impossible not to feel pumped up. It's like, it means achieving the impossible.
It's the perfect music for Rocky's journey. And of course, there's that final shot. Rocky running up the steps, arms raised, the whole city behind him.
That's the image everyone remembers. Pure movie magic.
But it also means something. It's like Rocky climbing to the top. Not just those steps. He's conquered all his doubts, his fears, and he's ready for whatever's next.
Which brings us to the final fight with Apollo Creed. This is where everything comes together, all the training, all the struggles. But the source says that the fights in Rocky, they aren't just about the action, there's something more to it.
Yeah, it's about the emotions. What's going on inside, you see it on their faces, how exhausted they are, both physically and mentally.
You see Rocky's determination in how he fights, targeting Apollo's body, wearing him down.
Yeah, it shows his grit, his refusal to give up. And for Apollo, the champ, this fight becomes about his pride. He thought it would be easy, just a publicity thing.
But he ends up facing a real challenge.
Exactly, someone who won't back down, and that's where the respect starts to grow. It's not just about winning or losing anymore. It's about the journey they both go through.
So they both win, in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Apollo learns to respect Rocky, and Rocky proves something to himself, that he can go the distance.
And that's why when he screams Adrian at the end, it's so powerful. It's more than just a victory cry.
Right. It's like he's overcome everything, all his doubts. He's found redemption. Not by winning the fight, but by pushing himself further than he thought he could.
The source really makes it clear that Rocky, it's more than just a sports movie. It's about something much bigger.
It's about the human spirit, overcoming challenges, finding love and acceptance. Rocky shows us that it's possible, no matter who we are or what we're going through.
It reminds me that we all have that fight in us, even if it's hidden deep down. And sometimes all it takes is a little inspiration. And that's where our deep dive into Rocky ends. What do you think about all this? It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. It's amazing how a movie that seems simple can be so powerful. There's something about Rocky that just sticks with you. Yeah, it really shows how powerful a good story can be, how a movie can stick with you.
And what makes Rocky so great is that it's about things we all go through, facing your fears, pushing yourself, finding the strength to keep going, even when it feels impossible.
It reminds us that we all have our own fights, our own mountains to climb.
And sometimes the biggest win isn't about beating someone else. It's about conquering your own doubts.
That's so true. It's about that change inside you, that journey of figuring yourself out. I think that's why people still love Rocky today. It's about something we all want, to overcome challenges and find our place.
You know, it's wild. The source barely mentions that this was Sylvester Stallone's big break. He wrote the script and fought like crazy to get it made, even turned down tons of money because he wanted to play Rocky himself.
Wow. It's a real underdog story, both on screen and off. And you can see that passion, that belief in every scene.
Talk about perseverance. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, if Rocky were made today, would it be different? Would it still have the same impact?
That's a good question. Some things might be seen differently now, like how it shows masculinity or the violence in boxing.
Yeah.
But the main themes, resilience, determination, finding your self-worth, those are timeless.
I think you're right. No matter what, people always need stories that inspire them, that show them what they're capable of.
Exactly. And that's Rocky's legacy. It goes beyond time and place. It's about what it means to be human.
So there you have it, our deep dive into the world of Rocky. We hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something new.
It's been great talking about this with you.
And keep those requests coming. We're always ready to tackle a new topic.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep that Rocky spirit alive.
And that's a wrap.